Hi, everyone. Welcome to Table Talk for Homeschooling. This week's discussion topic is dealing with stress. So we have Angela and Tara here today, and we're going to get started how we usually do, which is just talking about why they chose to start homeschooling. So Angela, you're first in my screen, so go ahead.
Okay. We've been homeschooling since the beginning. And we chose to homeschool so we can instill our values into our children, so we can give them the gift of time, and so we can just teach them in the best ways that they learn.
Tara?
Mine is a similar story. We homeschooled because we really wanted to share our values with our kids and wanted them to really pick up what we wanted them to value most of all. And it was also very much wanting to spend time with them and enjoy them and be a part of what they were learning and grow with them. So very similar reasons.
Great. And just to mention, Tara, you have no educational background like a lot of the homeschooling parents we've had on these talks. You don't have a degree in education or anything, correct?
I don't. I just had a couple of college classes that I took. I have a high school diploma, did some college classes, and then went into the workforce. So a lot of my education came through training in the workforce. But nope, I don't have any higher level education degree, but I know how to read, and that's really the basic thing you need to know. However, though, even Ben Carson's mom did not read, and she made sure he got an education. So it's not even always that, but that was my one criteria that I had.
Great. I just like to mention that because we have had a lot of people on here talking who have that educational background, and it's always good for people to realize you don't have to have it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so jumping in with the topic, dealing with stress. What type of things end up causing the most stress for you as a homeschooling parent?
For me, I mean, I think just like last week was just the balancing things. I love what we do as a family, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. But getting stressed out when there's clutter, or stressed out because the laundry isn't done. I mean, so for me, most of my stress would be just trying to do all the things, and I really don't feel stressed when it comes to doing the homeschool stuff. Like, that's fun for me. I tell people it's my hobby to, plan stuff for the co-op and things like that. If it's getting down to the wire and something's not coming from Amazon for my class, I might get stressed out about that. But it's more of, just trying to balance everything and realizing, I can't do it all. No one can do it all. And again, last week we talked about prioritizing. So that helps with the stress as well. I think also just maybe because I run a group, there's stress related to that, if there are maybe, conflicts with people within the group, or trying to get enough people to get signed up or to get their payments in. To me, I feel like that just comes with a job. I don't know if I would necessarily call that stress, but sometimes it can just be like, come on, I need payments, or, I need people to sign up if we're going to have a party. I'm not, can't bring everything myself or whatever. So I guess those would be considered stresses as well.
I think for me, the main stress that I felt was just wondering if I was somehow going to shortchange my kids or ruin their life. Basically, was homeschooling going to actually ruin them? So I think it kind of is linked to the idea that, oh no, my kids are going to have gaps in their education. Am I really going to give them the best that I want them to have? Because I think we all want the best for our kids. So for me, I was questioning, or am I really giving you the valuable education that I want you to have? But what's interesting is that no matter what education system you're in, there are probably going to be gaps because no system is perfect. And at home, I was able to focus in on their strengths and go in depth. And, we we flipped our schedules so that when dad was home during the day, we did school in the afternoon or the evening. So we enjoyed a lot of the flexibility with it, but mainly the stress was me. I put it on me, and it was my standard that I was somehow imagining this standard that, was out there that really wasn't being defined by anybody else but me. So, and I don't think that was the right thing. I think that for me to look at what I was doing and why I was doing it needed to come to the front every day. And I would say, I wanted my kids to have good character. That should be first. And then then the day would go on, and I wouldn't get, science done that day or something. And so the next morning, boom, I'd have to go back and say it again. So it was just a daily reminder of what's really important. Focus on that, let the rest go. It will work out. And the kids did. They grew and they learned and they became adults, and both of mine went to college and are successfully employed. They married, they have children, they were normal. So it did all work out just fine. And I really am glad that we homeschooled. So.
That's great.
If I could just tag on to that. Yeah. I have a master's in elementary education, and there are still times I don't feel like I stress about it, but there are times where I go, am I doing enough? And some people are like, well, you used to be a teacher. And I'm like, yeah. So, I don't think I'm better than any other parent who's, who's trying to homeschool their child. And they're like, well, why do you doubt yourself? You went to college for this. And I'm like, yes, I went to college, but it's not the same as, teaching your own children and, being solely responsible for, your child's education. And so there are times where I guess doubt might be a better word than stress, where I'm like, is she doing enough? Could I do more? And, like Tara was saying, we put that on ourselves. Like no one is saying, excuse me, your child's not doing multiplication of double digits. Like, what's wrong with you? Like no one is doing that to us. We're doing that to ourselves. Mm-hmm. But there are times where I go, wow, but then when you see that they're getting it and, it might not be as quickly as you wanted them to, but you see them getting it or applying things down the road or something you did months ago, you just go, wow, that, you get to see the fruit of your labor. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes you don't, and that can be hard too, because we want to see, that we're getting through to them and stuff. But, I know a lot of homeschool moms put stress on, and dads stress on themselves because they worry if they're doing enough. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I just wanted to throw that out there. A degree doesn't mean you're going to get it all right. It's going to be perfect, and you're going to just think you're the best. You're the best thing. So, mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. So, what type of stress do you have you seen your kids go through as a homeschooling kid?
The only stress my kids went through were the pressure that I put on them. I wanted them to, work faster and get that schoolwork done, or, don't be a slouch just because you're doing work for mom. I found that my kids actually responded very well to co-op classes, because it wasn't just me they were answering to. And it was actually a positive peer pressure. I'm so grateful that they took some outside co-op classes, because then they were kind of accountable to somebody else, and they actually cared what that person thought of them. With mom, they always know that I'm still going to love them. I'm still going to feed them dinner. I lose out on something important if they don't do, this the way I'd like them to. So, trying to incentivize my kids at home probably was a challenge for me, which caused some stress, trying to figure out, how can I keep you highly motivated, focused, and doing your best. So, but my kids themselves, I don't recall them feeling particularly pressured at all or stressed out about things. If anything, it was kind of the opposite. It was like, hey, kind of ride wave, So that was my experience.
Angela, was yours similar?
I was thinking of this question I was going to ask my oldest today, and then we just got off on our outside stuff, so I didn't get to ask her. But I know sometimes even when they were younger, because they're only 10 and 12, they would stress if like we didn't do school, and I'm like, and I think I pointed this out before, I'm like, just because we didn't open a book doesn't mean that we didn't learn anything today. I mean, you watch TV shows or you read in stories, where they went to school and they got out their math book or they did this and that. So there just becomes this idea of that's, what you need to do to be learning. And so I don't know that they stressed about it, but they would say, we haven't done math today, and I'm like, what? Like, they're worrying about it. And I'm like, and I start pointing out like, hey, remember when we baked brownies and we doubled the recipe, and just pointing out other things that, it doesn't need to be a book in your hand or a worksheet in your hand to be learning. But I think one thing I was thinking about stressing is, being on time to things. Not that the kids stress out so much about it. Sometimes they want to be sure we're on time. They want to see their friends and stuff. But because we have our own schedule and we can do whatever we want, whenever we want, so to say, I feel like as homeschoolers, we need to be more disciplined when we have the things that like we need to be there at a certain time, an event at the library or a co-op class. Where it's like we usually take the mornings kind of slow. Well, when we have to be somewhere at 10:30, we can't do that. So, it changes things a little bit, but the stress sometimes for me of we got to get there on time, or, it's a field trip, or I'm leading a class and I'm like, all mornings don't go perfectly, but, so maybe a little bit stress in that. But as far as like classwork, getting stuff done or, and learning or things like that, I would say as of now, I mean, I don't know when they get older. I think also depends on the personality of your child.
Yeah.
I know I went to public school, but I know that I stressed a lot about doing really well, and getting good grades and stuff. And that was all coming from me. My parents weren't like, oh my gosh, you got to be like, they weren't like that. But for me, that was a stress I put on myself. And I hope that my children don't have that stress. I really want them to enjoy learning and seeing it as, a lifelong thing that they enjoy doing, and that it's not a chore. Competition with yourself, I think, is a good thing, always wanting to be better, but not to the point where you're stressing out.
I did have an interesting follow-up testimony from one of our students who went on to college, and he was actually stressed the first day of college, just wondering if his education had equipped him. Oh. And he wrote back and he told us that he had taken some classes with our homeschool group. Now, this could apply to a different homeschool group too, but he was happened to be talking about ours, and he had taken a writing class. And he said that as soon as he got the assignment or whatever, he knew what to do. And he said, I was so well equipped, even better than my other classmates who had been in different school settings. And there's a testimony on our website from this fellow. His name's Daniel Glenn, and he lives in Manassas, by the way. So he just completely talked specifically to that thing. Was I prepared? And he was very well prepared. And I think homeschooling does that across the board, because kids are getting a lot of experience, a lot of varied experiences. And most of the kids I know are exceedingly well prepared for college.
Is that something that you guys have noticed? You both are in in groups. Although Angela, your age group is a little young to be thinking about that after homeschooling is done. But is that something that you kind of have noticed with a stressor, either with the parents or the kids? Will I be prepared?
Yes. I mean, I have parents asking me that now, especially, moms and dads can both not be sure about the whole homeschool thing, but I've had moms come to me and like the dads are asking, are my kids going to be prepared for college? Are colleges going to want to accept, children who have been homeschooled? And I don't have like a link or anything right now, but I've read articles where there are colleges that are seeking out homeschool students because they know that they are go-getters and they're going to, do their work, and, that they're serious about their education. So yeah, even at the 10 and 12-year-old, because they're thinking, are we going to do this long term? And a lot of people will ask me, well, how long are you going to homeschool? And I'm like, till we're done. I mean, for me, that's our plan. Some people say they take it year to year. And I think it goes back to the reasons why, you're homeschooling. But it's something that parents are stressing out over at even, a young age. And, we talked about this or maybe not last time, but the other, extracurriculars, other things where their parents are stressing out about, I should say, about, will they be able to do band or football and things like that. And while we may do things differently, we still have a lot of opportunities as homeschoolers.
Absolutely.
Have you guys noticed an increase in the stressing about homeschooling because of COVID?
I think there's a lot of new people who are new to homeschooling, but the people who were previously homeschooling were like, okay. So COVID really was not a big deal for us. We were, other than some of the co-op things that we participated in, the group stuff was limited for some families. Other than that, it's not all bad, to be honest. I think homeschoolers, we used to joke and call it car schooling, because we were always going so many places that we were always doing school in the car. I'm like, if only we were home to do school, we were out and about doing field trips and this and that. And so, I think in some ways COVID brought people back home to just really kind of focus in on their families and really, rebuild some relationship, bring a little peace in the home and that kind of thing. So I haven't seen it affect homeschoolers negatively myself, but that may not be the case for everybody.
In my group this year, I had a lot of, we call them COVID homeschoolers, because they were planning to just do it for the year. So nothing against them, where my group is open to all homeschoolers, all kinds of homeschoolers. So they just didn't want to do the distance learning. Either it wasn't working for their family, or and they pulled them out of that, or they just decided before it was announced, like we're not going to do this. And so they really knew nothing about homeschooling coming into my group, which I love helping people. So I was excited that they were there. And so now some of them are like, wow, like this is so awesome. They have older children that had gone to public school. And they're just like, I'm never going back, and I'm like, yay. But, on the flip side, there are other ones who are considering going back. Everyone has to do what's best for their family. So yay for doing what's best for your family too. So I think COVID does play a role in people deciding to go back in the fall. They don't know yet of, are we doing hybrid? Are we back full time? What are the requirements going to be for the children and things like that? I've homeschooled for a year. What does that mean for my child going back to school? So there's some stresses there, things that they're just not used to, like the end of year testing and proof of progress, which I know you are going to be talking about that later, so I won't get into that. But as far as like for people who are already homeschooling before it happened, I used to tell people, oh, it didn't really affect us. But I'm like, well, library is a huge part of, our homeschooling. People are going to think Holly's like paying me to like plug the library here.
No, it was true for our family. We raided the library every week. It was our best friend.
Yes.
The library. Oh my gosh, we love the library.
And the events. And, so we were at the library 2 to 3 times a week. So that was a huge difference, for us. And then trying to get books online and curbside pickup, so that was some, I guess you could say, a little added level of stress that, we didn't have before. Field trip options aren't there or weren't there, things are kind of starting up again. So things that we used to kind of supplement weren't there anymore. So I just had to be creative in things that I did. We used to do community service once a month, but COVID kind of cut that out for us. And so we've had, some changes. I wouldn't say they were stressful. We've filled the time with, with other things, but so yeah, I think that answered your question.
Definitely. So we've kind of touched on this as you guys have talked, but how do you typically handle the stress or help your kids handle stress when it comes up?
Well, I think for it's important for the kids that you give them room to express frustration or express what they're feeling. You know, affirm the feelings. So don't just try to brush it off and say, well, you shouldn't be feeling that way. You know, no, you know, wow, that must be really hard. I hear that, you know, and, you know, listen well, repeat back, you know, kind of what you hear them saying. Hey, is this what I think I hear you saying? And, you know, respond to that. And again, I'm not saying you're going to change everything necessarily. Sometimes we just have to go through difficulties and you know, build character as we go through it. But it could mean that you need to adjust something. Okay, some stresses are not necessary. You know, are we putting it on ourselves? Is it coming from somebody else? Is it necessary? You know, or do we need to change something? But I think listening well is the first thing, and then, you know, we can get into a rut, and I would just say get outside. Really helps. It helps me when I'm stressed out. Go outside, go get some fresh air. Let's take a break. Enjoy some nature. If you have a really active child, using manipulatives helps that. Something they can squeeze, or, you know, a doll or something to hold on to. I mean, there's natural things that you would do as a parent that will help kids to de-stress. So really just, you know, doing those things I think are helpful. And of course, well, I will always say this too, praying for your kids and praying together would be another one.
For me, I know, like, when we first started the group and we were around a bunch of people, I mean, typically we're not because we're home. I know, so my oldest was like, woohoo, you know, people. My youngest was kind of like, I need to take a while to, you know, to get used to what's going on. So that would used to cause the stress for her if we walk into a room and there's 15 people in there. And, you know, being aware of, you know, your children and their needs and their feelings. You know, I'm not going to go force her to go stand up and give a speech in front of 15 people if, you know, she's not comfortable with that. I feel like it's, you know, definitely gotten better over time, but if she knows you, she's going to open up a lot quickly, you know, a lot more quicker than, you know, if she doesn't know the group. And so, you know, when you're, I mean, even if you're a teacher in a classroom, you know, you've got all these different personalities going on. But the nice thing with homeschooling is that we can really be in tune with each child and what they need and when. I think it's important to show our children that, you know, it's okay to get stressed out. I mean, you know, it happens. It's life. To acknowledge, you know, we've got too much going on. We need to pull back. Like, we need to be home. And especially when they're older, you know, talking to them about that. No, I'm sorry, we can't do this thing that we were invited to on Friday because we're already going out, you know, 2 or 3 other days this week. And just setting, you know, healthy limitations and boundaries. And them seeing that, you know, we're doing that as adults and it's okay, you know, for them to do that as well. They might not like that we don't get to go to Charlie's on Friday, but, you know, and explain why, you know, we're doing that. I feel like, you know, as parents, we don't need to explain why we're doing everything, but that they should just trust us. But you know, it depends on what it is, but to say, you know, okay, or, you know, now that they're older, I give them kind of more choice. Well, if we do that on Friday, then we can't do this on Wednesday. Which one do you want to do? And kind of involving them more in things instead of just doing, I don't want to say the things I want to do, but the things that, you know, I think would be the best for them. Not that going to Charlie's would be bad, but, you know, and then also just taking a break, you know. I remember they're like, what are you doing sitting down, mama? You know, and it's like, what? You know, and I just realized that I was just always on in the house, you know, always on the go, you know, starting dinner, doing the laundry, doing the dishes, you know, doing the homeschooling. And it was, this was a while back, but, you know, it's just like, they're just not used to me just stopping and sitting, you know, and which it's still kind of a rare occasion, but to teach them that, you know, it's okay to take a break. It's okay for us to say no to things that we're invited to, because you're just going to create more stress on yourself. And one thing I think I mentioned in one of the other ones is just, you know, when we have a class or we have a field trip or whatever, do as much as we can the night before to be prepared, so we don't have stress the morning of, you know, where's your sandwich, where's your this, you know, get your shoes kind of thing. So there are ways, and again, these are life skills that we're teaching our children to I would say create less stress, you know, for ourselves, and also take time for self-care, and it's not, always go, go, go for, I'm not, even though we do life schooling, and we're not, doing something, structured all the time and stuff. And I think, we need to model these things, because if I'm always doing, they're going to think it's not okay for them to just sit and rest, and I don't want them to feel that way. And I really should be taking more time for myself. If I'm like, it's quiet time, everyone gets a book, and modeling that behavior.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of based off of what you guys have both said, have you found, and I believe, to backtrack a little bit, I believe you guys both went to public school yourselves, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Have you found that your kids are more open to talking to you than maybe you were with your own parents because of how much time you spend building off of everything, or is that completely a myth of homeschooling?
I think that they are more open because you are doing more of life together. We read a book out loud together. So we're sharing everything. So we're not just sharing a portion of the day, we're sharing all of the day. We shopped together. We did school together. We did housework together. We did recreation together. We lived life together. So I think just the fact that you have more time to be with each other does increase that communication. And I certainly noticed that my kids communicated, in comparison to other kids their age who are in public school, they communicated more easily to adults, with adults.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen that and heard that from other parents of how, because our children are around all different ages, that they can get along. I find them to be kind of more sympathetic to the needs of younger kids, older adults, like I don't say grandparents and like they're super old or anything, but going up to a librarian, I'm sorry, I have to use the library all the time because that's a big part of our life. Going up to a librarian and say, I can't find this book. Can you help me? Ordering their food at a restaurant, just interacting with everyone like they're equal. It's not like, oh, I can't talk to him. He's a grown up, my daughters are very friendly. Hello, sir, as we're like walking through the store, and I'm just like, I thought I was an extrovert till I had my oldest. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to grocery shop, but so they just get along with, people of all ages. I feel like, I went to public school. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so we had a close relationship, and we did grocery shopping on Saturday, and we did all these different things. And I've heard the term after schooling, which are things that parents do with their kids after school, even though they go to public school. I'm like, there's a title for everything now. But I'm like, I guess I kind of went to public school and had after schooling, but we did things together, as a family and stuff, even though I was spending the day at school, doing my learning. But even if you're public schooling, it doesn't mean learning stops when your kid comes home. And you can still do things with your kids that are educational. They can be structured or unstructured, go to the Civil War field, and things like that. So it's not like the learning stops. Like, parents are still responsible for their children's learning. I saw one parent, she said she didn't like the term homeschooling. She liked, I'm a school choice mom, is what she said. And she said, because we might not always be homeschooling. So she goes, I just make the best choice for schooling my child, at any given time. And I mean, that's what we're all doing. We're just trying to do what's best, for our children.
Yeah. Well, great. Do you guys have any tips for potential new or even existing homeschoolers with dealing with the different stressors that homeschooling can bring?
I would say make sure that you get involved with other homeschoolers. Don't isolate yourself. So get involved in a group so that the kids have fellowship with other kids. Mom has support. And if you can get a mentor or talk to somebody who is an experienced homeschool mom, through Chess, we have some moms who are willing to do that, who'll just be available that you can talk to. So, you don't feel like you're on your own, or what about this, or, you're really struggling with something. But, engaging with somebody who's already done it is huge. And then I would say keep a routine, even though I know with homeschooling, I think that's probably one of our greater challenges is actually keeping a routine because we have so much flexibility, but routines help. They help us to know what to expect. They help the kids to know what to expect. And I remember when 9/11 happened, they interviewed some people and Laura Bush said, "What do you do in a crisis?" And she said, "Routine helps. Keep a routine." So, we can count on certain things, a story at bedtime. We can count on we're all going to have breakfast at the table, or here's the order that the morning routine goes in. I'll start school at 9 or whatever that looks like. So routines help. And I think they help just, keep us feeling more comfortable and with expectations of what things will look like.
I love the idea of just being around other people, not isolating ourselves. There are so many people in this area that are homeschooling, I had no idea. We moved here when my first was a baby, but there are so many. And again, I met a lot of people in my group at the library. I'm like, I need a card to start passing out to people. You homeschool, it's the middle of the day and you have an 8-year-old here, and there's so many resources and that can stress you out too. You Google homeschooling in Virginia online and that's stressful, so
what curriculum do you choose?
Right. Oh my God.
There's 1,000 things. Yeah, those can be stressful.
It's great that there's so much information out there, but you're not going to be able to read all of it. You're not going to be able to cover all of it, so find something that interests you and kind of dig a little deeper into that. There's all these Pinterest boards and things that you can follow. If you're following these things and they're stressing you out and making you feel like you aren't good enough, unfollow. That doesn't look like my homeschool table. We've got toast over here and jam on the placemat, just unfollow them. They're not there to make you feel bad about yourself, but if they are, you're just adding stress. And I feel like a lot of homeschool parents, the stress that we have is self-imposed. And there's so much, it's good to want to strive to be better. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But when, you're comparing, don't compare to any other family. That family is not your family. They might have 2 kids the same age. They're still not your family. We all have our own things going on. Comparing is a huge stressor.
Yeah, not helpful.
Yeah, don't compare yours. Oh, she has a master's and I don't, or it doesn't matter. We're all trying to do what's best for our kids. And I think it's just also important for us to try to stay less stressed. Journaling is, I don't know if, that is huge because we just have so much, I think, as humans, but especially like homeschool parents, we have so much in our minds, and I'm always thinking I've got this event and so much, and just to journal, what are your thoughts, your concerns, the great things that happened today, just to kind of get it out and do a brain dump might be another term, to help relieve stress. I don't know, for me, when I've gone through things in my life, journaling has helped just to get it, get it out there, whether you're typing it or writing it, just to get it out there. And going outside always works for us. Just get out back for a while. Routine is definitely good. Like, we don't have a schedule, like a set time that everything happens, but we've got A, B, C, D, so they kind of know what's coming up next. Friday night is movie night. And so that's something, it's like lately we've been getting pizza from out, which I like, because I don't have to even worry about dinner. But, just having those things, things to look forward to that don't even have to cost money, but having things like that is just kind of, not that it helps with stress, but it does help to have little things, to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just definitely, you just realize you can't do it all. I can't do it all. You can't do it all. There are things that aren't going to get done. And if things aren't working for your family, don't stress and say, oh my gosh, well, I bought this, or someone said this was really cool. If it's not working for your family, it's going to benefit you to dump it now and find something that does, than trying to force it and make it work for your family, because that's just going to cause stress for you and your child.
Yeah, well said.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Do you have anything else you would like to add? No.
No, I mean, I would just say self-care, make sure
Yeah.
you're taking breaks for yourself. I mean, that could be talking to a friend. I mean, like I said, I think it's fun to research field trips, taking time for yourself, again, is setting an example for your children, even just in the middle of the day. I think I mentioned on another one that just taking before dinner, before things start going, dinner, bam, 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 all the way, to bedtime, just taking a minute for yourself, whatever that looks like that you need to do, and take care of yourself, and don't stress yourself out, because again, a lot of it, we're doing it to ourselves. No one is standing over us wagging a finger at us. We're wagging it at ourselves.
I guess the question might be, well, how do I find a homeschool group in my area? We encourage you to get connected. So my group is the Chess Homeschool Group, and we help families in 4th through 12th grade with academic classes. Angela, your group is a private group, but did you want to share
Right.
that?
Well, I would just go to the HEAV, HEAV page, and or the Manassas Park City Library page, and see where you can get connected.
There's another group, Homeschool Legal Defense Association. It's hslda.org. They have a list of homeschool groups by location. So heav.org, groups by, that's the state of Virginia, but HSLDA also has a list. And they'll talk about what the different groups do. And there's a local group in Manassas called Hope, and they get together for, just the kids to hang out and do field trips and that sort of thing too. So anyway, there's some great groups in the area.
Yeah, definitely. And you can find many of those links on the Manassas Park City Library website under the homeschooling section. All right, well, thank you both so much. We're going to end it here today. So the next topic is going to be motivating yourself and your child, and that will be on June 24th at noon. So thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.